Hello and welcome to our webcast for April 20, 2016. I lost
Whoops!
Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry.
Reset.
Reset 2 years. Go forward. Okay.
Not that way.
Yeah. Whatever. My name is Christian W. The gaffer,
Yeah, that's right.
whatever. Okay. And this is Amy Asbrook, the director of Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet, this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Also joining us is Taylor Hyatt, our policy analysis and outreach coordinator.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Okay. Toujours Vivant Not Dead Yet is a non-religious organization by and for people with disability and our allies. Our goal is to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability rights opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending of life practices that discriminates people with disabilities. Today's topics, only one, the following of the last week. So, disability and advertising part 2. So, Amy Asbrook will help us through that
Yeah.
text.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to the second half of our conversation on disability and advertising. Today we will be exploring the difference between ads directed at people with and without disabilities, awareness campaigns, and how advertising can be used to normalize disability. That's a lot to do, so let's get going. Design and marketing are different depending on whether they're directed toward disabled people or toward non-disabled people who provide care. Let's take adaptive clothing as an illustration. Clothes designed for self-dressing, as the term of art apparently is, may not have the same features as those designed for aided dressing, i.e. when somebody else dresses the person. For example, shirts that close in the back might be easy for a carer to put on a disabled person, but the back closure might make it more difficult for the disabled person to put on themselves. Another case in point, which was brought to my attention by an autistic contact of mine on Facebook, are the one-piece jumpsuits that have back zipper access to prevent the wearer from disrobing inappropriately. And understanding that that's an important value at some level, I can also see a situation where the fabric of a outfit would be really, really so irritating, that the person would need to get out of it, and
But the society doesn't accept nudity as a standard.
Right, but that's sort of the issue around autism, that a lot of behaviors aren't socially acceptable. So we have to figure out ways to compromise work, and putting people in clothing that is irritating their skin is not a good solution. Okay. Yeah. And since much of the adapted clothing is designed for elders, it may strike younger consumers as, to quote a friend, fuck ugly.
Fuck ugly. Okay.
Fuck ugly.
Fugly.
Fugly, yeah.
We really are going to have to put a PG-13 rating on these.
Yeah. I said fuck ugly.
And it's not just clothes. Disability branded or designed products they have seniors in mind. They're not pretty, and people are often competing for the same kind of scarce resources too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And since the elder population is growing beyond that of younger disabled people, You're seeing more and more stuff geared to elderly people, which means that the 70s are coming back. People are
jumpsuit,
selling lime green
and
burnt
orange or thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Advertising directed at disabled people tends to stress independence, practicality, pants that don't slide down when you transfer, comfort, pressure wound prevention, and style. The ads aimed at caregivers emphasize convenience and durability. How exciting. Two companies demonstrate radically different approaches to designing and marketing accessible fashion. In one Tommy Hilfiger clip, an adolescent boy in a wheelchair is getting ready for a family photo shoot. The camera zooms in on his mom, who pushes the chair and attaches the Velcro on the shirt sleeve of 3 different outfits. Everything is done to and for the boy, and the ad is directed at caregivers like the mom, even though she is not the one who will wear the clothes they're selling. So, generally teenagers get to the point where they want to make decisions about their own clothes and don't want mom to decide what they're wearing.
So, let's say plus or minus lower than 12 years old, maybe this is the right thing to do, but over that, it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, in contrast to that one, photo shoots for the now shuttered or now defunct IZ collection, created by celebrity designer Izzy Camilleri, show wheelchair users in classy modern outfits. They're found in a variety of settings like gardens, offices, and shopping districts, with no caregivers in sight. Everything that makes the clothing accessible, from alternatives to buttons to the cut of a pair of jeans, is invisible to the average viewer. The focus is on making the wheelchair users look fashionable more than improving the lives of people who assist them. And
so it's sad that easy doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it is kind of sad. And I read an article that basically they couldn't make enough money with their business model. In other words, there weren't enough disabled people who had enough money to spend on their fashions.
Yeah, because fashion is kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And most disabled people doesn't have so much money.
Right. There weren't enough.
Exactly. You're making these clothes for a small market who often lives in poverty, which is why it's hard to get good disability-friendly products off the ground.
Right, exactly. Let's see. Over the last few weeks, we've compared the way disabled people are portrayed by charities run by non-disabled people and organizations by and for people with disabilities. Awareness and fundraising campaigns designed by and for non-disabled people often emphasize the difficulties living with a particular condition for the person themselves and those around them. Viewers are meant to pity the parents of disabled children who are robbed of their dreams of raising a normal child. Autism is a common example. Last year, Codwell Children, a charity in the United Kingdom, created a, quote, Locked In for Autism fundraiser. And actually, they did it for several years, and it won awards.
Yeah.
Participants would raise money by spending 50 hours locked in to a giant glass box displayed in Tesco grocery stores. The box is meant to represent the isolation, communication issues, and stares autistic people have to face. This creates an incorrect idea of the experience of autism that incites fear in the viewer and increases the distance between disabled and non-disabled people.
Which we doesn't want.
Right. It literally puts people in cages like in a zoo. Yeah. Hey, look, it's an autistic in a cage.
Yeah. And it's not the right. It's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's make distance between people and the autistic, which we doesn't want to exist.
Right.
People may communicate with autistic people. It's just a matter of understand it.
Right. And you know, being a little patient and opening your mind a little bit. Yeah. So, and creating this idea that being autistic is like being in a glass box is a little bizarre. And it's certainly not something that autistic people came up with.
Nope.
In locating the problem with the autistic person and fostering stereotypes, it reinforces rather than breaking down communication barriers between autistics and neurotypical people. Okay, so another problem comes up with public safety campaigns, which also send the wrong message about disability when they use becoming disabled as a possible consequence of drunk driving or negligence in the workplace or whatever behavior they're trying to stop. Besides presenting disability as something to be feared, which is playing on that stereotype and again, creating that distance between people, these campaigns reinforce the belief that disability is a punishment and that those of us who are disabled are somehow personally responsible for our conditions. And it isn't always very rational the way people say it, but you know, you must have done something terrible in a former life to, or you know, God is punishing you for your sins or whatever. Let's see. In 2000, Mothers Against Drunk Driving came out with a poster featuring an accessible parking spot with the words, "Every 48 seconds, a drunk driver makes another person eligible to park here." So and that's not the first time MADD has done something like that. They had another campaign back in the 1980s, late 1980s, early 1990s that did the same thing. And the Ragged Edge magazine, you know, had some articles from people saying, "Come on, give it a rest." They had a feature called "We Wish We Wouldn't See," and it featured that kind of article. So Taylor, you wanted to add something about that?
Yeah. Most non-disabled people, when they hear about accessible parking spots, it's usually because somebody has tried to use them wrongly, treat them like a perk, and now this ad says it's something you should be ashamed of. So I don't know how they want people to react to those ads because those are two wildly different things.
Yeah. Although there is a very common idea that disabled people are just faking and they're just scroungers. And so, you know, I think that could also...
But they doesn't complain about firefighter,
right.
or a policeman, or who have...
Well, they do complain about policemen.
Oh, yeah, but not for parking.
You're right.
We complain for other thing, like we call them pigs or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so 15 years later, Quebec Occupational Health and Safety Commission made the same mistake with a spot on injuries in the workplace. In 60 seconds, an amputee at a public pool has to explain to a child why his arm is missing. A woman at a hair salon has to choose a style that will hide facial scarring. And a wheelchair-using dad is unable to hug his frightened daughter. The people are portrayed as being ashamed of their conditions. And the last scenario is an inaccurate portrayal of disability in family life because, of course, the daughter is used to climbing up on her papa's lap and finding comfort there regardless of where his arms are placed.
Yeah.
Again, it's so clear that it's from the perspective of non-disabled people who are expressing their fears about disability and retransmitting the stereotypes. It's just bad. Again, the ad campaign locates the problem with the disability rather than public attitudes toward disability. Perhaps more importantly, though, an inaccurate message about the amount of control that frontline workers have over safety in the workplace. In reality, it is the responsibility of management to educate workers on safety procedures, to provide safety gear, and enforce compliance with safety measures. Yet, the ad lays the responsibility on the employee to speak up about unsafe conditions, or else he'll become disabled. And if the management is not setting the tone of putting safety as an important priority, then people are not going to feel comfortable speaking up about it. So it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Anywho, efforts to make disability seem more normal through marketing products to disabled people have had mixed results. One early example is an ad for life call alert systems that was popular in the 1980s and 90s for all the wrong reasons. Unfortunately, one actor's line, "I've fallen and I can't get up," became a joke, a cultural meme, and the basis of several rap songs because of the actor's exaggerated delivery. Yeah, it was a big joke.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say about that? Oh, I forgot. Too late. It's gone. Oh, I was going to say that there are other campaigns that have done a much better job. And one of them, on the other hand, was in 2010, Kimberly-Clark Company launched an award-winning series of humorous ads for its Poise incontinence pads featuring Whoopi Goldberg. Recent ads for incontinence products continued to attempt to remove the stigma associated with bladder leakage. A Depends underwearness commercial shows cool young people modeling their briefs. And I think actually using capitalism in that way is a good thing. And then the question remains, might these campaigns have helped Annette Blackman, the 34-year-old woman who died in 1997 at the hands of Jack Kevorkian because multiple sclerosis had rendered her incontinent? And that was the only thing her complaint. She said, I'm incontinent. I can't live. I'm so humiliated because I'm incontinent that I don't want to live anymore. And so she had Kevorkian kill her. Do these campaigns really change the view of people who need these products, or do they reinforce the status quo of a society that values youth, beauty, and physical fitness? How many people would consider these normal parts of aging to be acquired disabilities? And I think those are important questions. And I actually think that, like the Whoopi Goldberg ads are really, I think those are the better ones because they make it, they're not trying to cover it up. They're just trying to make it, okay, well, it happens.
That's okay.
Too bad.
But here's
something you can use to help you.
Yeah, and it's kind of normal. Bad guys have tendency to play joke to women and make them laugh till they pee in their pants. Yeah. Okay, that's bad guy. Yeah. But
you would never do that.
Not more than once or twice. Yeah. Sorry, but
I liked the. Sorry, what was that?
Not when I was younger.
Social media to work toward making disability more normal. Crohn's and Colitis UK started the Get Your Belly Out social media campaign to show people who have colostomies that they're not alone and to promote acceptance of their bodies. Also, a video that we linked to in the text, done by a couple of adolescents for Feeding Tube Awareness Week in 2012 is definitely by and for disabled people. It's really cool. One of the guys looks just like Harry Potter. It's really goofy. Anyway, they're excellent. It's another example of the importance of peer support for people with disabilities. And, you know, imagine you're, you know, a 50-year-old person and suddenly you learn you're going to have to eat through a feeding tube. And you're having this very medicalized idea of what it is. And you see that video of a couple of teenage boys goofing around doing their feeding tube thing. And, oh, yeah, maybe not quite so medical.
Yeah. It's kind of just a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They make it normal. And that's what it is, really. Apple's commercials are hit or miss. One clip from 2016 was produced by Sadie Paulson, a woman with cerebral palsy. It shows people with a variety of disabilities using their iPhones and computers to program hearing aids, use text-to-speech, track workouts, and edit the commercial you're watching. We're glad to see a trendy company look beyond wheelchair users as the classic depiction of disability. On the other hand, a second ad from the same year talks about a young man who uses an iPad, a young autistic, I should say, who uses an iPad as a communication device. The spot is narrated by his mother and a therapist, and Dylan himself is shown playing with toys, jogging, and playing basketball. His main contribution to the story is to describe his life as lonely and autism as being in hell. So they don't show him doing homework or going to being in school. They don't show him, you know, participating. They never show him with other people. And yeah, maybe he doesn't like to hang out with other people, but all of the activities that he's doing are fairly passive, and he's not telling his own story. It's his mother and his therapist that are telling his story. Okay, when disabled activists in Boston organized a disability pride event in 1990, the first item on our platform statement was, "Disability is a natural part of the human experience."
Which is true.
Yes. The event, which took place 2 months after the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, was meant in part to announce the next stage of the disability rights movement, because we were thinking, okay, so we got the ADA passed, now what? And we hoped to follow in the footsteps of the Black Power and Gay Pride movements to build a common belief that disability could be both normal and a source of pride. Not just we're proud of ourselves as people with disabilities, but we're proud of our disabilities. Like, get your belly out. It was a pretty radical idea at the time. So since then, pride events have occurred in many cities, but the movement has not gained much strength. Hanging on to the idea that disability is normal is hard, especially in the face of the growing popularity of assisted suicide and euthanasia. And with less than 1% of advertising featuring disabled people, it's understandable that people still don't see disability as normal.
And the number 1% is
right.
Very important, because 1% is very low,
right.
And the real number of disabled people is a lot higher than 17% of the population.
Right.
So 1% versus 17%, the gap is very too much.
Right.
Very, very too much.
And it's actually under 1%. And a lot of where you see disabled people in advertising is awareness campaigns. So the best advertising campaigns that we featured show that it is possible to do it right, but that people with disabilities won't be portrayed accurately unless we tell our own stories, instead of having people view our lives through the lenses of fear and pity.
And disabled people doesn't want any pity.
Yeah.
At all.
You know, some people have been so you know,
except people who beg.
well, yeah, some people are just so conditioned to it that that's what they expect, and
Yeah.
you know, I get that, but
Let's say few people want.
Yeah. Taylor, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. Thinking about Dylan, the gentleman in the Apple commercial, though, how much of his isolation is because he has these authority figures always overseeing his life?
Yeah, exactly.
They've done that.
Yeah. Right. And does he get to hang out with other autistics? They probably don't show his online life, which is probably very social. No. Interesting. Okay, so if you want more information about the topics that we discuss on our webcast, you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/toujours vivant, not dead yet, all one word. Visit our website at tvndy.ca. You can email us at info@tv-ndy.ca, or you can follow us on Twitter @TVNDY. Thanks to Christian for helping us out, and thanks to Taylor also. Taylor. Thanks to you for being there, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.